Hey family, so I survived the apocalypse, survived the blackouts. So I thought I'd say a couple things about what I noticed about the PG&E blackouts. PG&E is the company that is an electric company in California. So a lot of people in the class today, they were making a couple jokes like, oh, well, at least our neighbors were talking to each other, right? That, oh, well, at least people during the blackouts were not in their homes and were talking to each other. But here's one little thing I'm going to say to that might sound nihilistic and pessimistic, but I think it should be said. I do want some of my neighbors to be in their house because they're a little rowdy and cause trouble. When you live in a high condensed area, you don't really know your neighbors too well, and you don't really trust them, and the cops are always around, right? I don't really exactly feel safe in a place where you're not really allowed to have a gun, you are not allowed to have a security dog, and now the electricity is out and your cell phone signal doesn't work. So if someone wanted to commit a crime against you, there wouldn't even be a light for someone to, see what's going on, and your phone wouldn't really work that well to call the police. And I don't really find blackouts as a fun moment. I know a lot of my friends were like, the kind of hippy dippy, some of them, and they're like, oh, I just get to play in the dark, and like, what's the big deal, just to like drink some water and have protein shakes. And it's like, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, do you guys realize that the economy has come to a complete standstill? That since there's no internet, that means everyone who works online, who has online jobs, can't work. Okay? It also means people who want to get gas can't get gas because not even the gas stations are on. So you have a big problem where everything is shut down while the global economy continues to rage on. And I don't think we should allow PG&E to make it the new norm. I don't think we should be like, oh, well, it's just reconnecting with our like primitive past, and like other countries, like they don't have electricity, so like what's the big deal? No, I don't agree with that. When you pay high taxes, when you have high rent, you pay high gas, you pay an electric bill that's so expensive, you expect the state, the politicians of the state, to regulate these companies and inspect these companies to make sure that their faulty equipment isn't causing fires when it's dry. Another thing I don't agree with is how people seem to not be pointing the finger enough at PG&E and the California Governor Gavin Newsom. They think, oh, well, Gavin Newsom's saying harsh words, therefore he cares. The dude took campaign money from PG&E. And honestly, the CEO of PG&E needs to step down. Every year we're having fires, and like every time we have these fires, they're getting closer and closer to where even I live, to where you're like, man, this is crazy. Eventually, the fires are gonna get even closer, and they need to put the electric cables and all that crap underground so it doesn't matter how dry the surface is. And another thing I think is, like, a lot of people aren't talking about, why isn't California moving to solar panels, right? Why aren't we doing wind power? Why aren't we doing wind energy? Why are we not moving our infrastructure beyond this old-fashioned, faulty equipment from PG&E? And it's time for us to move beyond the way PG&E has got it set up, because many jobs will ask you, hey, do you have a reliable internet connection? And a lot of us people will say, well, yeah, we live in California. That's one of the strongest economies in the United States. But look how fires are rampaging through this area. And you do need trees, to help filter the air. You do need to support the wildlife. But they're trying to chop everything down so that these electrical companies can just keep continuing with their bad equipment. And it's weird how we live right by the ocean. Why aren't we doing desalination plants and just taking ocean water, filtering ocean water, desalinating it, and spraying it on the fires, or having like a deep public works program where we can have job creation where workers can go around and water things down with ocean water, take out the salt so that it doesn't cause a problem in the pH balance of the soil. I don't know. If we have all these brilliant people in California, we got Silicon Valley, you got the wine industry, you have Hollywood, you have the Los Angeles actor scene, whatever, all these different ways that California has a very profitable state revenue-wise. How are they still having these, developing country-like problems? I mean, come on. If I was in the middle of Antarctica and I didn't have a Wi-Fi signal, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm in Antarctica. What do you expect? But if you're in the Bay Area and you're like, dude, I can't even work. I can't even leave my house and my refrigerator can't work. Why are these apartment buildings not having backup generators? Okay? And I noticed that when people were in apartments were trying to plug in their generators, neighbors were getting upset because it's just too loud. It's too loud. They're like, hey, turn it off, turn it off. And now you got neighbors arguing. You got people fighting. You have people going nuts, because in some apartment complexes, the water wasn't even working. And remember, family, a lot of people don't realize you have 7 people crammed in a tiny apartment. You got no electricity and no water, and people can't travel, and then now the traffic lights aren't even working, so it's all crazy kind of in the streets. Come on. That's not a sanitary condition. You're gonna have people pooping and peeing in bags. Then the poor garbage man gotta go handle biological waste. That's a good way to spread disease. We already have people pooping in the streets in San Francisco, right? We got open drug use in the Bay, where you barely even get in trouble for shooting up heroin in the street and leaving your dirty needle, okay? And regardless of how you want to solve that problem, we're having a huge decay in this state. We're having a lot of decay, and it's starting to come forward, and we're starting to see it. And a lot of people are minimizing how a corporation that is profitable is not doing its job, and our politicians are just pocketing all our tax money that we pay them, and they just get to hang out in the cocktail circle and live a great life while the citizens are living in squalor. No electricity, they can't go to work, and guess what? The bills are still due, right? So many people have missed work, a week of work, because a company couldn't update their equipment because they wanted to cut costs and they wanted to keep making money and have infinite growth for their shareholders. So corporate greed was placed in front of the common person. And Gavin Newsom, right? He's fine. And then these politicians, they got the money to, they're getting paid by taxpayers. They're not hourly. They don't have the same struggles we have. And it's time that the people of California start waking up and stop allowing themselves to be turned into little factory farmed, profitable economic wage slaves. That's a lot of words I just said. But I don't get this state. It's like that you have a widening gap of the super elite, right? You have the people who have homes who are paying a lot of money just to have their crappily built homes. And then you have people who are living just jam-packed like sardines in apartments. And then you have people being like, this is normal. We should just live like this. It's okay. It's no problem. Let's make a joke of it. It's no big deal. I don't see why everybody's upset. And it's like, not everybody wants to sing Kumbaya in the dark with their crazy mentally ill neighbor, or some girl who's brain dead and just looks at Instagram all day. I don't want to have a conversation with her. I'd rather be watching some lecture. I'd rather be listening to some global news. I want to live how I want to live, and the grid, since we're dependent upon it, has to be maintained. And the private sector has failed us. We need to municipalize the utilities in California. It's time for a change. The free market has let us down with the electric company, and it's been privatized. Let's open it up. Let's get this fixed, because Gavin Newsom's pointing to the federal government saying, well, you guys are supposed to fix the forests. And then you have people in the inner cities saying, well, PG&E has to send their workers to update the lines to clear dry brush. And then you have the parks and recreation people being like, we don't have the budget to really go around and water everything. And then you have the environmentalists who are like, we need to preserve the nature, which is true, we do. Because you don't want to have just a New York City type of architecture. It's, you know, not everybody finds that way of living a beautiful thing where everything's covered in pigeon poop and the only smell you smell isn't of flowers, it's of cars, and the only view you have is just another office building. Not everybody likes that stacked, condensed type of factory living. It's just dark, right? Some people want to see a mountain, some people want to see a bird, some people want to see a flower, right? They don't want to have to go to a park where there's a bunch of grass and be like, hey, this is my nature experience. Guess I just gotta plug into the digital world and watch nature documentaries to counter any nature. I mean, if you're gonna have an economy that is based in a globalized tech world, right, Silicon Valley, right, you need to make sure that the PG&E electric company is doing their duty in a state that's dry. I mean, what is going on? Where is the political oversight? It's ridiculous, you know? And restaurants that had to throw a bunch of food away, it hurts their budget. And these small businesses, for them not to have, you know, their place open, they lost money too. So many people lost so much money and time, okay? It's fun. Like, I love to read, but sometimes you want to hear some music. Sometimes you want to have a hot tea. You can't even use the damn stove. And then they're like, well, spare the air. Don't use a fireplace or a barbecue because of pollution. And it's like ExxonMobil and Chevron and all these companies that constantly have their oil plants and their refineries lighting on fire. Those corporations are causing pollution. Some person barbecuing because there's no electricity, because PG&E ain't doing their job, that doesn't pollute the air. I mean, to a fraction of a percent. But I mean, we are becoming so weak in this state. So weak. You can't, no fireplace because it's so dry. Can't barbecue because there ain't no space in your balcony. Oh, the stores aren't open because there ain't no food. Oh, fridge don't work. Freezer don't work. Oh, looks like you're gonna have to eat peanuts and raisins and protein bars and bottles of water. And if you have a baby, well, you're gonna have to just use a bunch of bottled waters to give them a bath because ain't no water. Oh, and the toilet's not working. It's just like, what? That's why people are, you know, starting to wake up. This state is a shithole state. The marketing around it is fantastic, you know? How they make it seem so flowery and beautiful, and you can drive through these expensive areas, see $2 million homes that look like they're $30,000 homes, and it's just a big scam. It's a big scam to live in California, and I'm thinking of, I might skip a semester just so that I can work some extra hours so I can put all that money away so I can move out of this state ASAP, because it's only a matter of time before more fires happen. And wow, how do you rebuild after your home has been destroyed? Right? I remember the Santa Rosa fires, it was tragic. So many people lost their homes. And it's like, this company is still operating, and they're still, like, people are still like, well, guess it's climate change because it's so dry. And it's like, yes, indeed, the climate has changed. That doesn't mean that we don't have to inspect PG&E and hold their feet to the fire, right? Why do the consumers, the people who are dependent upon the electrical grid, have to be so vulnerable? It's really bizarre. I mean, 4 days, 5 days, that's a long time without any electricity and being able to go anywhere. And remember, you're living in an apartment, right? So at least in an apartment, you don't have the space and the joy and the beauty of a house where you have a yard and you have like more hobbies you can do. You're really confined. And it's depressing enough to live in an apartment, but when you have no power to escape, you can't watch a movie, you can't listen to music, you can't play your PlayStation, it's dark, so you gotta play a card game by a bunch of candles. Yeah, that's fun for about 2 minutes, okay? And during the day, you can walk around. But remember, if you're in the city and nothing's open, you're literally just walking around aimlessly. And it gets boring pretty fast, So I'm not too happy about these power outages. I think this state is overly corrupt. I think that I think that's a sign. You can say it's from the creator, you can have conspiracy theories, whatever you want to say, but it's a sign that California, what it once was, ain't no more, and it's time to go. It's time to get the hell out of here. And yes, every state has tornadoes, you have hurricanes, you have blizzards, you have rainstorms, you have lightning strikes. Yeah, but there's a big problem when PG&E, an electric company, is causing fires left and right, and they're still in operation, and no real change is happening, and no California politician is talking about, you know what, let's not focus on Trump, let's focus on an infrastructure bill, let's rebuild our electric grid, let's do it, let's put solar panels on apartments, let's put solar panels everywhere, let's do it. Nope, silence, just thoughts and prayers. Oh, there was a fire. Oh, what can we do? What can we do? That's just the way things are. Well, at least we got to play in the dark. At least we got to talk to each other. At least we got to do more reading. It's really sad. Some people are really making it to be too hippy dippy. Like, oh, it was so nice to unplug from social media. You know what's not nice? Is having a small paycheck, right? Is being like, yo, I'm literally missing 40 hours of work, right? This is gonna kill me. And then, Gavin Newsom not being like, hey, let's make some deals with these apartments and homes to be like, hey, if a bill's due, you can't be charged a late fee due to the fires, right? And then Gavin Newsom tweeted this stupid ass tweet out that was like, oh, I raised $30,000. Their businesses lost over $30,000 in those few days. I mean, and people were just scrambling. And what's really sad too is that you have a lot of people who they have medical machines that need to be plugged in. I mean, we're not designed in this state to deal with being a natural human, right? To have a fireplace, have a barbecue thing, and you can get your own water. We don't have that. When you're in a tiny apartment that you pay an arm and a leg to live in, and then you don't have electricity or power, you're really a sitting duck, and people go crazy. I mean, even me, for a point, I was just like, I just want my fridge to work, man. I just want to have a heating. It's just really sad, so I'm glad we all survived. What do you think, family?